Happy Quarantine, everyone. Glad to see you again. Today, we have a new and exciting job, plus some bonus content at the end. I wonder what that could be. But before we get started, I have a favor to ask of you guys. If you guys like my videos, I would really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. I put a lot of work into these videos, and subscribing would really help with the visibility of the channel. And if you hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button, you'll be notified when I upload again. Anyways, on with this video. Today we're making a logo for Double Feature Productions. Double Feature Productions is a movie review YouTube channel and Instagram page run by two of my good friends, Sean and Max. Yes, that Max from the previous video again. The man is busy, that's for sure. Sean and Max are both the biggest cinema nerds I know, and they're both hilarious and knowledgeable about movies. You simply must check out their YouTube channel. They asked me, Down and Out Designer, to help rebrand their old defunct movie reviewing page on Instagram, previously known as Celluloid Factory. That logo was also designed by me a long time ago. From what I understand, they wanted a fresh start since A, they've been gone for a while, and B, they were tired of interactions like this.
Celluloid factory? Celluloid-like deposits of subcutaneous fat within fibrous connective tissues, as in the thighs, hips, and buttocks, that give the puckered and dimpled appearance to the skin surface?
No, that's cellulite.
Oh. Cool.
Anyways, let's get into this logo business. As soon as I heard that Sean and Max decided on the name Double Feature Productions, I had a vision. 2 animated strips of film revealing the initials DF. Why animation, you may ask? Well, since Double Feature Productions is going to be making videos, it would be nice to have a logo that moves and has a totally transparent background so they can put it on top of their footage. With my vision guiding me, I got to work. Here we are back in our overpriced software. The first order of business is to make our film. This is pretty extra, but I'm making the aspect ratio of this box 16:9 because it's a common video format today, and it's the one that Double Feature Productions will be shooting with. Now here, I'm going to put the first initial of Double Feature in the last frame. After we've made our shape, we can just copy and paste this a few times to make a long strip of film. Now, you'll never see this entire strip of film in our logo, but I'm doing this because I'm preparing these assets for animation. You'll only see a small part of this strip at any given time, and the rest will be masked out. If you're a little confused, you'll see what I mean a little later, and I'll explain masking more in depth. Up on the first frame, I'm going to make a little round shape that vaguely resembles a D. Now I can use the blend tool to make the computer make up the steps between my blobby D and the fully realized D. I also had to blend the counterform because apparently I like to do everything the hard way. Now we do the same thing with the F. Now that I have the elements that make up the final logo, I'm going to go mock it up off to the side here. Just gotta shear it to make it look like it's at an angle. It looks pretty good, but I think there is too intense of a shear here. I'll remember to chill out a bit when I go back and do it again. As always, I'm gonna play with a few typefaces here. I'm keeping it pretty classic here, using the same tried and true typefaces for legibility. On the topic of typefaces, I would like to take some time to talk about a huge inspiration to me as a designer. I like to reference this book by Italian designers Massimo and Lola Vignelli because it lays out their design philosophy. For those of you who don't know, the Vignellis are responsible for stuff like the New York City subway wayfinding system and the old American Airlines branding. While I find a lot of the book super interesting and helpful, I also find it hilarious because they come out of the gate swinging. On page 9, they state, "How often we see design that has no meaning, stripes and swashes of color splashed across pages for no reason whatsoever. Well, they are either meaningless or incredibly vulgar or criminal when done on purpose. Unfortunately, there are designers and marketing people who intentionally look down on the consumer with the notion that vulgarity has a definite appeal to the masses, and therefore they supply the market with a continuous flow of crude and vulgar design. I consider this action criminal since it is producing visual pollution that is degrading our environment just like all other forms of pollution." I just had to share that quote because I love it so much. But back to the topic of typefaces. They say, In the new computer age, the proliferation of typefaces and type manipulations represents a new level of visual pollution threatening our culture. Out of thousands of typefaces, all we need are a few basic ones, and trash the rest. So, the typefaces that Massimo approves of are Garamond, Bodoni, Century Expanded, Futura, which is what I decided to use for the Double Feature Productions logo, Times Roman, and Helvetica. That's it. Being fairly new to the field of design, I try to use and master these typefaces. Some of them are definitely overused and are borderline memes in the design community. Looking at you, Times Roman and Helvetica. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little tangent. Back to the Double Feature Productions logo. Okay, since I like my good design, I'm going to go back and angle my animation assets. Alright, it's ready to be animated. Cross your fingers and hope that this will work. Here, we are in a different overpriced software. I just imported my Illustrator files to After Effects. If you guys do this, keep in mind that you'll need to format your Illustrator files correctly. Every moving piece needs to be on a separate layer. Anyways, here I'm making the F-strip move. Looks pretty good so far. Now I can manipulate the movement and make it start fast and ease into a stop. Now gotta animate the D. Our logo is getting closer and closer to completion. Fade in the production name. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so I've added a pink background so you can see that the rest of the film strip is still there. We only want a part of the film that's in this box to show, so this is where masking comes in handy. Now, only the shapes that overlap will show. This is cool, but not quite what I want, so I'll invert the mask. There we go. Now, we mask the other film strip, and boom, we have a logo. I chose to make it kind of fast initially because YouTube intros are like 2 seconds long, but Sean and Max wanted the animation slowed down a bit, so I went back and added an extra second onto it. Glad I got feedback because they were right about it. The slower animation looks nicer and you can see more of the details. Here's the final exported logo. It's nice because you can put any background behind it and it'll work. Uh-oh, apparently it's time for the bonus content. In case you haven't guessed already, I watched the Japanese horror classic The Ring, as well as its American remake for a Halloween review with Double Feature Productions. The original film is about a reporter who is investigating the mysterious deaths of 4 teenagers. She finds out about an urban legend being passed around by other teens about a weird VHS tape where if you watch it, 7 days later, you die. I was surprised because it felt like a detective movie where the main characters follow clues to learn more about the killer VHS tape, like where it came from and what the images are. The 2002 American version at some points feels like a shot-for-shot remake of the original, but then deviates slightly towards the middle. Here's a clip from that review, which you can now go see on their YouTube page. Link in the description as always.
So today we're going to talk about Ringu, the Japanese horror film that came out in 1998, and the American version that came out in 2002.
And this horror film tells the story of a haunted or cursed tape in which if the viewer watches it, they receive a phone call from a mysterious girl saying that they have 7 days left before they die. Usually we start with here, but Jacob, what did you think of both of those movies and kind of the differences between them?
I've never seen a movie that made me glad that VHS tapes were obsolete, first of all. Second of all, I was pleasantly surprised by both of these films. 1998 has this like wonderfully creepy low budget feel to it. Mm-hmm. And it really got under my skin to a point, I will say. There's a point kind of maybe a quarter to midway through the film, which I felt like it lost a little bit of its creep factor. Meanwhile, the American version, of course, has a big budget behind it, and they can afford to put some pretty gnarly effects on it. I do think that the original and the remake both kind of suffer from having a little bit too much of an exposition dump. But yeah, I actually really like these films, and I did not expect to.
The American remake has obviously a much bigger budget with Naomi Watts, and it's directed by Gore Verbinski. And like you said, the effects are very impressive in general. They take a very like stylized approach to it. I like that in the remake that they took advantage of more characteristics of the monster. Like they included the use of water a lot more. There are certain effects that they did in the original, but they only did it once or twice.
I mean, I generally am not a big fan of remakes, but I think here they took the right approach. I think they saw what worked with the original and did not really mess with that at all. But they expanded upon, I think, some of the weaknesses in the original. I think the biggest thing is just the motivation behind the girl in the tape. But I think it also does expand upon maybe a couple, like a thing or two here or there that just didn't really feel necessary.
Well, that was a fun experience. If you guys have seen either of the Ring movies and have some opinions about them or plan to watch them soon, go argue about them in the comments of Double Feature Productions' newest video. Alright, now that we're done here, let me know what you think of the logo in action. Do you like it, or do you think it deserves to be tossed down the well? See you on the next episode. Peace.